or the NJC objection list. Any other objections used in your respective states will not be entertained at this time if it does not fall under that umbrella. As for objections, it is my preference that you state the rule number and the grounds on which you're objecting. Please limit your grounds to about one sentence. If I feel that I have enough information to make my ruling, I will cut you off, but please do not take that personally. As for rebuttals, you may ask for a rebuttal. They may not always be granted, and please do not give your rebuttal until you have been granted. Once the trial begins, all spectators, please limit the chatter as well as refrain from signaling anybody on the team, whether they are currently participating or not. Witnesses, when approaching the witness stand, please ensure to bring your placard with you. At this time, does plaintiff have any pretrial matters to discuss?
Yes, Your Honor. At this time, may we introduce ourselves and our witnesses?
Yes, you may.
Thank you, Your Honor. My name is Carson Brandon. I will be giving the closing statement as well as directing Domenico De Sol and David Bam and crossing Ann Friedman and Dr. Stephen Polcari.
My name is Greta Groves. I will be conducting the opening statement as well as directing Jamie Martin and crossing Lily Nasser. And now for our witnesses.
My name is Noel Aurelini and I'll be David and Bam.
My name is Nathan Gonzalez, and I'll be Domenico De Sol.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Galvan and I will be playing Jamie Martin.
Your Honor, at this time, we would like to let the court know that we will be using an enlarged version of Exhibit 2.
Yes, that is fine, but please do know that when that exhibit is not currently being questioned on, it must not be displayed on the easel.
Yes, Your Honor. And at this time, we ask the court to take judicial notice that Ann Friedman agreed to the stipulated facts of the case.
Judicial notice will be taken.
Thank you, Your Honor. That is all.
Thank you, counsel. At this time, does the defense have any pretrial matters that they'd like to discuss?
Yes, Your Honor. May we move freely about the courtroom?
Yes, you may, but please do ask permission before approaching the bench or the witness stand.
Following a sustained objection, is the prior testimony struck from the record or do we need to request for it to be struck?
You may assume that it is so stricken.
Maybe attorneys have sidebar during convos or kept to a whisper or no sidebarring.
You may have sidebar. Please ensure that it is not disruptive. If it does become disruptive, I will gavel it down.
And at this time, Your Honor, we wish to pre-admit Exhibits 2 and 8 into evidence.
I am going to say that in my courtroom, no pre-admittal of exhibits will be allowed unless it is during trial time.
Yes, Your Honor. At this time, may the defense introduce themselves.
You may.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Isabella Collins. Today, I will be giving the opening remarks and directing Stephen Polcari and crossing Domenico De Sol.
Good morning, Your Honor. I am Sebastian Tiberio Lozano, and I will be directing Lily Nasser, and I will be crossing Jamie Martin.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Jarrell Anthony, and today I will be directing Ms. Ann Friedman, providing the closing statement, and crossing David Alpha. For our witnesses.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ana Sofia Tiberio Lozano, and I will be portraying the role of Ann Friedman. Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Greg Conley, and I will be portraying the role of Lily Nasser.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Harper Patterson. I will be portraying the role of Stephen Polcari.
Your Honor, at this time, the defense is ready to proceed.
Thank you, counsel. Is the plaintiff ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
With that being said, the court will now hear opening statements. Will plaintiff please present their opening statement to the court?
Yes, Your Honor. Permission to move about the what?
You may.
And can I ask bailiff what time signals I'll be given?
You'll be given 1 minute and 30 seconds, counsel.
Thank you. In December of 2004, Domenico De Sol arrived at one of the most prominent art galleries in the world, the Knoedler Gallery. He would walk inside and meet with the president of the gallery, the defendant, and Friedman. Mr. De Sol came to this gallery with intentions of spending $1 million on a painting, but the defendant wanted more. You're going to learn she lied, cheated, and deceived Mr. De Sol into spending $8.3 million on what he believed to be a genuine Rothko painting. Something that was supposed to be legacy for his family that was completely worthless. You're gonna learn Ann Friedman repeated this pattern of behavior, painting after painting, throughout her entire career, earning millions in the process. You're going to learn Ann Friedman's pattern of behavior paints a picture of fraud. Your Honor, my name is Greta Groves, and this is my co-counsel Carson Brandon, and we represent the plaintiff in this case. As plaintiff, we acknowledge that we hold the burden of proof of this trial of clear and convincing evidence, being more than the preponderance of the evidence, or more likely than not, but less than beyond a reasonable doubt. Meaning, as long as we establish a line of clear and convincing evidence, the defendant is liable. Today, we will prove that Ann Freeman committed racketeering activity in 2 separate acts of mail fraud and wire fraud. Meaning today, Ann Freeman knowingly and intentionally acted on a scheme for the purpose of financial gain through mail and through wire. In order to prove that to you, we will present to you 3 witnesses. First, we're going to call to the stand Jamie Martin, who will testify that after conducting analysis on multiple paintings in the Rosales collection, when found out the paintings were fake, was asked to lie about his findings. Next, we're going to call to the stand Domenico De Sol. He will testify how he was conned and deceived into spending $8.3 million on a painting that was as valuable as firewood. Finally, we're going to call to the stand David Anfam, whose name was fraudulently applied to documents in an effort for Ann Freeman to cover her tracks and authenticate fake paintings. Your Honor, at the end of today's trial, my co-counsel Carson Brandon is going to ask you to review the facts in this case. She's going to ask you to see the mountain of evidence that proves Ann Freeman's liability. She's going to ask you to examine the pattern of behavior that paints a picture of fraud and paints a picture of liability. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, counsel. At this time, will the defense please present their opening statement to the court?
Yes, Your Honor, may I proceed?
You may.
May it please the court. You can forge art, but ladies and gentlemen of the court, you can't forge the truth. And what the plaintiff will fail to tell you today is that lies can be beautiful. You can be caught up in every paint stroke, every pencil line, every oil blot, and you will hear today that every witness here to testify today, Ann Freeman, Domenico De Soleil, and every art scholar on this stand today will tell you they were fooled by this lie, the 1956 Rothko. Because turns out, it's fake, and it's fraud by Glafira Rosales, not the defendant. Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Isabella Collins, and along with my co-counsel, Jarrell Anthony and Sebastian Tiberiano Lozano, we represent the defendant in today's case. Now, today, the defense does not have a burden to prove you. In fact, we did not have to bring a single witness on this stand today. But the plaintiff, as you heard, does. And I noticed they brushed over a few things when they were talking about their burden this morning, because they had to prove 3 things to you. First, that Ann Freeman was involved in a criminal enterprise, meaning she knowingly and with intention and care sold fraudulent paintings with a group of people. Second, they must prove to you 2 predicate acts, mail fraud and wire fraud, and both of these acts must have crossed state or country lines. And finally, third, they must prove that Domenico De Soleil received damages from this case, that $8.3 million is worthless, and somehow makes him deserve $29 million in today's court. Because Mr. De Soleil is suing under the RICO Act, which means he gets 3 times the compensation. Now today, they will fail to meet this burden because I'm going to talk to you about 3 letters. A-R-T, art. A for authenticity. Because, ladies and gentlemen of this court, this case starts with a fake painting. And we will not rebuttal this statement. But the real question we're going to ask you today is that did Ann Freeman knowingly sell an inauthentic art? And today, you will hear from Ms. Freeman herself, Ms. Lily Nasser, and Mr. Stephen Bulcari, Mr. Domenico De Soleil, Jamie Martin, and David Anfang, that she absolutely did not. Where is the conversation? Where is the witness? And where is the proof that she legally knew what she was doing? The truth is, there isn't one. R, responsibility. Did Anne Freeman act responsible? Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, counsel. At this time, the court will now hear evidence from the plaintiff. Will the plaintiff please call their first witness to the stand?
Yes, Your Honor. Plaintiff calls Jamie Martin to the stand.
Will Martin please approach?
Can you introduce yourself to the court?
Hello, my name is Jamie Martin, and I'm a forensic art analyst.
And now, Ms. Martin, what is your involvement in today's case?
Well, I analyze multiple paintings for the Nobler Gallery and in today's case.
And Ms. Martin, can you just define to the court what is forensic art analysis?
Forensic art analysis is the scientific investigations of pieces of artwork to determine their authenticity.
And in order to become a forensic art analyst, what education did you receive?
Yes, well, I went to the Art School of Baltimore, and this is where I learned how to make my own materials and art in general. And I also went to the University of Delaware, and this is where I learned the physics, the material, and chemistry of art.
Now, Ms. Martin, after attending those universities, how did you apply that knowledge into your field of forensic art analysis?
It gave me a very strong scientific background to be able to become a forensic art analyst.
Now, Ms. Martin, how long have you worked as a forensic art analyst?
Oh, for over 30 years now. I analyzed more than 8,000 pieces of artwork. I worked with the FBI and even solved a famous forgery case with a person named Ken Perenni.
Thank you. Your Honor, we offer Jamie Martin in as an expert in forensic art analysis under the grounds of education, experience, and knowledge under Rule 702.
Any objections?
No, Your Honor.
Let it now be known that Martin is an expert in the field of forensic art analysis. You may proceed.
Now, Ms. Martin, earlier in our direct testimony, you stated that you had interacted with another gallery multiple times. Can you talk about the first time you interacted with another gallery?
Yes, I was brought in to analyze two Motherwell paintings from the Miller Gallery.
And what collection were these two Motherwell paintings a part of?
They were a part of the Rosales collection.
And now, Ms. Martin, can you just walk the court through your analysis of these paintings?
Yes, I go through a very lengthy process. The first thing I do is look at the art historical expertise. The second thing I do is look at the provenance to see if we can figure out the art or trace back the art to the artist. And the third thing we do is our scientific investigation.
And now, Ms. Martin, to your knowledge, why were you brought in to analyze these two Motherwells?
Yes, well, a lot of people were concerned that these paintings could possibly be fake.
Thank you. Now, Ms. Martin, what were your findings surrounding the two Motherwells that you analyzed?
Well, after our lengthy investigation, we came to the conclusion that these paintings were fraudulent.
And when you found out that these paintings were fake, what did you do with that information?
Well, I reported back to the Noller Gallery, but they wanted me to change my answer, but I didn't do that because that would have been fraud.
Thank you. Now, Ms. Martin, after you had analyzed those two paintings, found out they were fake, and reported it, when was the next time you would interact with Noller Gallery?
When I was brought into today's case.
And if I were to approach you with the painting from today's case, would you be able to recognize it?
Yes, I would.
Your Honor, permission to approach the witness with Exhibit 2 for purposes of laying foundation.
You may.
Let the record reflect, I am tendering to opposing counsel. Now, Ms. Martin, do you recognize this exhibit?
Yes, I do.
And what do you recognize it to be?
This is the unnamed rock that I analyzed.
And has it been altered or tampered with in any way?
No, it has not been.
And how would it aid in your testimony today?
Allow me to talk about my scientific investigation of this painting.
Thank you, Your Honor. We offer Exhibit 2 as evidence.
Any objections?
No, Your Honor.
Let it now be known that Exhibit 2 is evidence. You may proceed.
Thank you. Now, Ms. Martin, where did this painting come from?
From the Noller Gallery.
And to your knowledge, who bought this painting?
That will be Mr. DeSole.
And who sold Mr. DeSole this painting?
That will be Miss Anne Friedman.
And who's the defendant in this case?
That would also be Miss Anne Friedman.
Thank you. Now, Ms. Martin, I want you to walk you through the analysis you conducted on this painting. Can you just walk the court through what analysis you conducted?
Again, I went through my very lengthy process, the R circle expertise, the provenance, and R scientific investigation.
And Ms. Martin, for the court today, could you just go into a little bit more depth on how exactly you analyzed this painting?
Yes, again, the scientific investigation is a very lengthy process as well. The first thing we do is technical photography. And this is where we get a special lens on our camera to see if there's any hidden inscriptions in the painting that you couldn't be able to see with the naked eye. The second thing we do is use black light to see if there's any unusual fluorescence or glow in the painting.
And what were the final steps of your analysis of this painting?
Continuing on, the third thing we do is use a microscope to really magnify the painting to see if there's any cracks or in the painting that could be artificially made. And the last thing we do is use my best friend, the FTIR machine, and this is where we get a little sample of the paint, put it into the machine with some chemicals and mix it up, and it will do the analysis for us. It will give us where this painting came from and what time.
Thank you. Now, Ms. Martin, what were your findings surrounding this painting?
After my lengthy analysis, I concluded that this painting was also fraudulent.
Thank you. At this time, Your Honor, we can pass the witness.
Thank you, counsel. Would you please approach the easel and remove the evidence from the stand?
Yes, Your Honor.
And at this time, would defense please cross-examine?
We published Exhibit 2 to the bench.
Yes, Your Honor. Good morning, Ms. Martin.
Good morning.
You were first hired by the Nodler Gallery in 2008 to do an analysis on 2 Motherwell works, correct?
Yes, that I concluded that they were fraudulent.
Yes, and after you concluded that, you also concluded that the 1956 Rothko was also fraudulent?
Yes, I did.
Now, you used forensic analysis to analyze these works, correct?
Yes, I did.
But forensic analysis wasn't available or common in 2004 when the Des Soleils bought Untitled 1956, was it?
Well, it actually was available during that time, yes.
But it was uncommon?
Yes, I would say it was a common, but it was still available during that time.
Right, and even now you would agree you are one of few forensic analysts for art.
Again, I'm just one of many, but yes.
And you would also agree that that this type of analysis was uncommon for the experts who also analyzed these works?
Well, it wasn't necessarily uncommon, it's just the steps that we go through, but I guess you could say that.
And the same for Mrs. Ann Friedman.
Well, it was available during that time.
Right, and you didn't know Ann Friedman in 2004 when she sold Untitled 1956, did you?
Well, with the two Motherwell paintings, or which one are you talking about?
With the 1956 Rothko.
Well, she didn't bring me in to do the analysis of that painting, no.
Right, in fact, you've never spoken to Ann Friedman, have you?
Well, I did email the Nodler Gallery, but that's when they wanted me to change their answer, so I did.
Right, but you haven't directly spoken to Ann Friedman herself?
Objection, Your Honor. Asked and answered.
Overruled at this time. Continue.
Can you repeat the question?
So, you haven't directly spoken to Mrs. Ann Friedman?
Well, again, I did email the Nodler Gallery, and Anne is the president of Nodler Gallery.
Right, so you don't have any knowledge of the evidence or information she had regarding these works?
Well, I did email her that these paintings were fraudulent, but they wanted me to change my answer.
Right, but I'm speaking about the 1956 Rothko.
Oh, sorry. So can you clarify?
Right, so in 2004, when she sold these paintings, you have no knowledge of any of the information she had when selling those paintings?
Of the Rothko, you mean?
Yes.
Well, again, she had my contact information. She could have contacted me to do the analysis, but she didn't do that, but no.
And you've never heard Ann Friedman ever claim that these paintings were fake?
Well, when I wait for the Rothko, right?
Yes, or any of the other Rosales works.
Well, again, I emailed them, but they wanted me to change my answer.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, counsel. At this time, would plaintiff like to redirect?
Yes, a brief one, Your Honor, but again, before I begin, can I just get a time check from the bailiff?
Of course.
14:24.
Ms. Martin, what were your findings surrounding the Rothko painting you analyzed?
Again, after our lengthy analysis, we concluded that they were fraudulent.
And who bought this Rothko painting?
That would be Mr. DeSole.
And who sold Mr. DeSole this painting?
That would be Anne Friedman.
Thank you. Your Honor, at this time, we pass the witness.
Thank you, counsel. Would defense like to recross?
No, Your Honor.
The witness may now sit down from the stand. Will plaintiff please call your second witness to the stand?
Yes, Your Honor. Plaintiff calls Domenico DeSole to the stand.
Will DeSole please approach?
Your Honor, permission to move about the law.
You may.
Thank you.
Hello?
Can you introduce yourself to the court?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Domenico DeSole.
Why are you here testifying?
A few years ago, Miss Friedman lied to me, and she stole the money I worked so hard to earn for my family.
What do you mean by she stole the money?
I went in expecting to purchase an authentic Rothko painting. I spent $8.3 million. That money was going to go toward my family's legacy, my daughter's future education, and I haven't received any of that money back.
Now I want to talk a little bit more about your involvement with the Noether Gallery. When were you first introduced to the gallery?
I believe it was around November 2004.
And what happened after this?
After that, my wife and I scheduled a meeting with Miss Friedman. We intended on purchasing a painting that I believe was around $1 million.
And what did you end up purchasing that day?
We ended up purchasing the 1956 unnamed Rothko.
And if I were to approach you with that painting, would you be able to recognize it?
Yes, ma'am.
Permission to approach the witness who has been previously entered in as Exhibit 4? Or
Yes.
Exhibit 2?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. Now, Mr. DeSole, at the time of purchasing this painting, what were you aware of regarding its provenance?
Miss Friedman told my wife and I that it was previously owned by some unnamed Swiss art dealer, and that it was roughly worth $8.5 million.
And what did you end up paying for this painting?
I ended up purchasing the painting for $8.3 million.
And when purchasing, what, if anything, did you receive?
To finalize the sale of the painting, I received an invoice through the mail.
And if I were to approach you with that invoice, would you be able to recognize it?
Yes, ma'am.
Permission to approach the witness, what has been previously marked as Exhibit 3 after tendering to opposing counsel?
You may.
Thank you. Now, Mr. DeSole, do you recognize this document?
Yes, I do.
What do you recognize it to be?
This is the invoice I received to finalize the sale of the painting.
Is it a fair and accurate copy?
Yes, it is.
Has it been tampered or altered with in any way?
No, ma'am.
And who sent you this invoice?
Miss Friedman, the president of Nodler.
Thank you. We offer Exhibit 3 in the evidence.
Any objections?
None, Your Honor.
Let it now be known that Exhibit 3 is evidence. You may proceed.
Thank you. Now, Mr. DeSole, can you just explain what this invoice shows?
Yes, ma'am. It shows the name of the painting Miss Friedman claimed I had purchased. It shows the provenance of the painting, the literature of the painting, and the final price that I paid.
Now, can you just read the provenance of the painting?
It says the artist, private collection, Switzerland, by descent to the present owner.
Can you read the literature of the painting?
To be included in the forthcoming supplement to the 1998 Rothko Catalog Resume under preparation by the National Gallery of Art, Washington, D.C.
And can you read the final total that you paid?
$8.3 million, and that money was wired to Miss Friedman.
Now, Mr. DeSole, knowing what you know now, how much of the information on this invoice is correct?
Absolutely none of it.
Thank you. Permission to publish Exhibit 3 to the bench?
You may.
Thank you. Mr. DeSole, considering that you paid $8.3 million for this painting, why were you so confident in spending that amount of money?
Like I said, going into the meeting with Ms. Friedman, my wife and I had intended on purchasing a painting for around $1 million. So going from $1 million to $8.3 million, I requested a warranty to reassure myself about the painting's authenticity.
And if I were to approach you with that warranty, would you be able to recognize it?
Yes, ma'am.
Permission to approach a witness will have been previously marked as Exhibit 4 after tendering.
You may.
Thank you. Mr. DeSole, do you recognize this document?
Yes, I do.
What do you recognize it to be?
This is the warranty I received from Ms. Friedman.
Is it a fair and accurate copy?
Yes, it is.
Has it been tampered or altered with in any way?
No, ma'am.
And just to clarify for the court, who sent you this warranty?
Ms. Friedman, the president of Nobler.
Thank you. We offer Exhibit 4 in the evidence.
Any objections?
Yes, Your Honor, as to hearsay.
Rebuttal?
Yes, Your Honor. Under Rule 801, subsection B2, this is an opposing party statement as it was written and sent by the defendant.
Overruled. Let it now be known that Exhibit 4 is evidence. You may proceed.
Yes, Your Honor. Now, Mr. DeSole, can you just explain why this warranty was important to you as a buyer?
Again, like I said, going in, expecting to spend $1 million and purchasing a painting for $8.3 million, if it wasn't for this warranty and the special authenticity that it provided, I wouldn't have made this purchase.
Now, you mentioned some special authenticity. Can you explain what you mean by that?
This warranty, it has scholars listed and multiple people that supposedly authenticated the painting.
And what are you now aware of regarding the information that's in this warranty?
None of it is real, all of it is fake.
Thank you. Permission to publish Exhibit 4 in the bench?
You may.
Thank you. And Mr. DeSole, why were you so intent on purchasing this painting?
This painting, it was supposed to go toward my family's legacy. It was going to pay off my daughter's future education.
Objection, Your Honor. 404, improper character evidence.
Response, Your Honor?
None needed. I'm going to overrule at this time. You may continue.
Yes, Your Honor.
Would you like me to repeat that question?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So why were you so intent on purchasing this painting?
This painting, it was going to go toward my family's legacy. It was going to help pay off my daughter's education. And now, having not received any of that money back, that may not happen.
And who did you send $8.3 million to?
Ms. Friedman.
And how did you send her that money?
It was sent through wire.
Thank you. We pass the witness.
Thank you, counsel.
And permission to retrieve Exhibit 2?
You may.
Thank you.
At this time, will defense please cross-examine?
Yes, Your Honor. Permission to proceed.
You may.
Good afternoon, Mr. DeSole.
Yes, ma'am.
I would be correct in saying that you are a prominent businessman, aren't you?
Yes, ma'am. I believe I am.
And when engaging in a wholesale business, you receive your products from a manufacturer,
Yes, that's correct.
and then you sell those products to retailers.
Yes, ma'am.
But I'd be correct in saying you can only sell a product based on the information you're given.
I believe so, yes.
Now I'm about to move on to the matter at hand in this case. You met with Miss Friedman in 2004, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
When you entered the Nobler Gallery, it was elegant.
Yes, it was.
And you saw many notable pieces of artwork.
Yes, ma'am.
But you were most interested in two pieces that were covered by a white cloak.
My wife and I had pointed at the pieces, but yes, ma'am.
One of those pieces was a 1956 Rothko.
Yes, that's correct.
And after deliberating with Jim Kelly, you received an invoice, is that right?
Yes, we did.
If I were to show you a copy of that in court today, would you be able to recognize it?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, permission to retrieve what has been marked and entered as Exhibit 3 and approach the witness for identification purposes.
You may.
Let the record reflect, I am now handing the witness what is marked as Exhibit 3. And you still recognize this document?
Yes, I do.
Now, if you could please read in your head as I read aloud. The provenance you were given at the time of buying this painting states, the artist, private collection, Switzerland, by desist for previous owner. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Now, Mr. DeSole, this was the only provenance you were given when buying this painting. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
And you never did any research into its provenance?
Considering that I was purchasing from the Nodler Art Gallery and spending $8.3 million, no ma'am.
Right, you spent $8.3 million on a painting that you never researched into.
I'm not an art expert. I couldn't tell you what a fake painting is if you showed me one. However, I do know what fraud is.
But you did ask for a warranty letter, didn't you?
I did, yes ma'am.
Which is something you don't normally do?
Not normally, no. Again, this was a large purchase.
Your Honor, permission to retrieve what has been marked and entered as Exhibit 4 and approach the witness for identification purposes.
You may.
Let the record reflect I am now handing Exhibit 4 to the witness. You still recognize this document?
Yes ma'am, I do.
If you could turn to the 4th page of this document, it has a list of scholars, isn't that right?
Yes, it does.
If you could read aloud some of those scholars for the court.
It says David Anfam, E.A. Carmen, Jack Flam, Laylie Nazareth, Stephen Bulgari, Irving Sandler.
And you never researched into these scholars either, did you?
No ma'am, I didn't.
You never confirmed this information with Jim Kelly.
No ma'am.
And you never even gave these scholars a Google search.
No ma'am, I relied on Miss Friedman.
And you said on direct examination that everything in this document was false.
Yes, that's correct.
3 years after you bought that painting.
Yes ma'am.
So 3 years after you bought that painting, you suddenly had the realization that it was fake, is that right?
We had been made aware that the Nodler Art Gallery was caught selling fake paintings.
But it's been seen in the Baylor Foundation by hundreds of people, hasn't it?
Yes ma'am, that's correct.
And it sat in your living room for 3 years.
Around 4 or 3 years, yes ma'am.
And today in court, it has been 20 years since you bought this painting, isn't that right?
I believe so, yes.
So it took you 20 years to figure out that this painting is false.
We found out around 7 years after the painting was purchased.
But it took you 20 years to accuse Miss Friedman, didn't it?
Objection, Your Honor. Asked and answered. We have established that it has been 20 years since the purchase of the painting.
I'm going to overrule that objection. Continue.
But it took you 20 years to accuse Miss Friedman, didn't it?
The court moves at its own pace, but approximately, yes ma'am.
Now I want to talk about the damages you received in this case. You said that you've suffered a lot from this case, haven't you?
Yes ma'am, greatly.
But I would be correct in saying you still have a job.
Yes ma'am.
You still have a wife to go back home to.
That's correct.
And you are an extremely wealthy man, aren't you, Mr. Desolé?
I'm lucky to have been blessed enough, yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions at this time.
Thank you, counsel. Counsel, would you please approach the witness to retrieve evidence 3 and 4 and publish it to the bench?
Yes, Your Honor.
And at this time, would plaintiff like to redirect this witness?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed when ready.
Permission to move about below.
You may.
And may I begin? May I have a time check from the bailiff?
7 minutes and 4 seconds.
Thank you. Now, Mr. DeSole, on your cross-examination, you talk about what you still have. What don't you have?
I lost my family's legacy. My daughter lost her access to future education. And I'm unsure about the future if I don't receive this payment back.
And why is that?
$8.3 million that I spent has all evaporated. It's gone.
And who did you give that money to?
Miss Friedman.
What did you get in return?
I got a fake painting, a 2-pound worthless piece of firewood.
No further questions.
Thank you, counsel. Would defense like to recross?
Yes, briefly, Your Honor. May I proceed?
You may.
Now, you just told us on redirect examination that your daughter was losing access to her education. Isn't that right?
Yes, ma'am, and my family's legacy.
But you've already testified that you are an extremely wealthy man, right?
Approximately.
And if you have the means to buy an $8.3 million painting, you're telling the court today you don't have the means to send your daughter to college?
This painting was meant to send my daughter to college.
But you would agree with me, you have the means to send your daughter to college.
If this painting was real, yes, ma'am.
But you have money, correct?
Objection,
Yeah.
Your Honor. Asked and answered.
I'm going to sustain that. Rephrase your move on, counsel.
Yes, Your Honor. No further questions at this time.
Thank you, counsel. The witness may now step down from the stand. Will plaintiff please call their third and final witness?
Yes, Your Honor. Plaintiff calls David Anfam to the stand.
Will Anfam please approach?
And permission to move about below.
You may.
Thank you. you please introduce yourself to the court?
Hello, my name is David Arnfong.
What is your relation to this case?
I was cited in a few warranties in today's case.
Why are you here testifying?
I am testifying because the former president of Nova Gallery, Ms. Anne Friedman, had cited my name as a scholar to authenticate paintings in order to sell them.
What is your current occupation?
I am an art historian, critic, and curator.
And now I would like to move more into your involvement with the Nova Gallery, as you stated. How did you first become involved with the gallery?
Yes, I believe it was early 1998 when I was first contacted by the Nova Gallery. They had a Rothko work that they would like me to observe, so I went to the gallery, saw it, but I never gave a formal opinion as I was never hired.
At the time, what did you think about the painting?
I mean, it's art. I thought it was nice, but I never gave a formal opinion of any sort.
What research were you able to do on the painting?
I did not conduct any research as I was not brought in to do that. I was simply there to observe the painting.
What authentication did you give on the painting?
Again, I gave none of the sort as I was not hired to do so.
And what are you aware of regarding the sale about this painting?
Yes, I was made aware later on that when they sold this painting to the Gersh family, that they had indicated that I would include this work in the catalog raisonné, and I never indicated any of this work, and also never indicated that I had authenticated this artwork.
And now you said they indicated that you authenticated this painting. Can you just be clear on who is the they?
This they would be the Nova Gallery with Ms. Anne Friedman as president.
Thank you. And now, is this the only time that you are aware of Anne Friedman using your name to sell artwork?
No, unfortunately this would become a pattern when she also cited my name to sell the 1956 Rothko for $8.3 million.
And now I want to talk about this 1956 Rothko. When was the first time you saw this painting?
I guess the first time I saw this painting would have been in 2005 when she had sent a photograph of it to me in the mail.
So when is the first time that you've seen this painting in person?
In person, this would have been the first time actually.
Permission to approach a witness with what has been marked as Exhibit 4?
You may.
Thank you. Now, Ms. Anfam, can you just read the date that this fax transmission was sent?
Objection, Your Honor. Lack of personal knowledge may be heard.
I'm going to overrule that objection. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, looking at the fax transmission, can you just read the date that is listed?
Yes, the date that is listed is December 11th, 2004.
And now, if you could flip to the list of scholars listed in this warranty, can you read the first scholar?
Yes, the first scholar that is listed is my name, David Arnfong.
And what issue, if any, do you have with your name being listed on this warranty?
Frankly, I do have an issue with my name being listed in this warranty. My name being listed in this warranty is essentially saying that I did my research, that I looked into this painting, that I authenticated this painting, which in this case, none of that ever happened.
So what meeting did you have with Anne Friedman about this painting?
I never met Miss Anne Friedman about this painting. She only ever sent it to me in the mail.
What reassurances did you give Anne Friedman prior to the sale of this painting?
I didn't give her any reassurances about this painting.
No further questions, Your Honor. Permission to publish Exhibit 4 to the bench.
You may.
Thank you.
At this time, will the defense please cross-examine?
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed?
You may.
Good morning, Ms. Enfant.
Good morning.
Now, you are an art historian, critic, and curator, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Meaning you not only study the history of art, but also judges its significance and actually decide what hangs on museum walls.
Yes, I like to observe the art.
Now, you've authored on over 40 books on various artists, correct?
I've written several books, yes.
However, your professional work mostly focuses on Mark Rothko, right?
Yes, my work does focus on Mark Rothko.
Now, you've viewed over 800 Rothko works on canvas and hundreds of works on paper.
Yes, I've seen many.
And you were contacted by the Knoller Gallery in 1998 to view works by both Franz Klein and Mark Rothko?
Yes, that is correct.
Now, when you arrived at the gallery, you encountered Rothko that day, right?
Yes, that is one of the ones I observed.
And you were requested to analyze his work?
I was requested, yes, but when I further asked if to get provenance status so I could do the analysis, they never went back, they never contacted me again, so I never did the analysis because I was never formally hired and I didn't get the proper go-ahead by the Nova Gallery with Ms. Anne Friedman.
Right, but keeping focus here, you don't even remember who specifically asked you to analyze his work, correct?
No, unfortunately this was many years ago, but I still remember what happened.
Now, in March of that same year, you sent an unsolicited follow-up letter to the gallery, as you stated before.
Yes, I did send a follow-up because they had asked me, but because they never got back to me as a formality, I did say, hello, I'm going to go work with another gallery because they never followed up on me with this specific painting.
But you would agree with me that no one ever responded to you with a desire for your expertise at that moment only.
At that moment, no, they never hired me and they never asked for further assistance.
Right. Now, moving forward, you later crossed paths with Ms. Friedman at a NOLA booth at the Park Avenue Armory in 2002, correct?
Yes, I believe I visited their booth.
In which you encountered Rothko that day and admired his beauty.
I mean, yes, it's art, it's going to be beautiful nonetheless.
And you directly communicated this interest to Ms. Friedman?
I did express some interest, yes, but it never went any further.
Now, you are informed that this painting was later sold to the Hilty Family Trust, correct?
Yes, I am aware of that.
Now, moving forward, in 2004, you communicated with Ms. Friedman and learned of a collector who had links to Mexico.
Yes, she gave me this very vague backstory about this Jewish collector who's from Switzerland.
And then in 2005, you received mailing from NOLA.
Yes, that is when she sent me a photograph of the 1956 Rothko.
Ms. Friedman sent you this photograph?
Yes, she sent me a photograph in the mail, I believe.
It is in your sworn testimony today that Ms. Ann Friedman specifically sent you the photograph of the 1956 Rothko.
The Nova Gallery with Ms. Ann Freeman as president did send me a copy, maybe like a photograph in the mail of the 1956 Rothko, yes.
So to be clear, you don't have proof that Ms. Friedman specifically sent you this work?
Maybe not Ms. Ann Freeman specifically, but I do remember receiving it in the mail.
Right. Now you notice many odd things about this interaction, correct?
Odd? I mean, I was sent it in the mail and we never had a further conversation about it, so I didn't think much of it, honestly.
Well, Ms. Alpam, you just testified during direct testimony today, well, examination today, that you felt like it was weird because this was something you would receive if you had authenticated the work, but you weren't hired yet, correct?
I'm so sorry. Maybe repeat the question, please?
Ms. Alpam, you recognize that this was something you would receive if you had authenticated the work, correct?
If you're asking me that I found it odd that she cited my name on a work that I had never been able to personally observe, yes, if I'm going to be cited in a warranty, I want to personally observe the painting face to face, but because I only was able to see it in the mail, I felt that I wasn't able to probably observe it, which is why I found it odd that she put my name in the warranty, even though I was never able to face observe the painting.
I'm actually not talking about that at all. I'm talking about the mail you received that day. You testified during direct examination that you thought this was something you would receive if you had authenticated the work, but you had not been hired to authenticate the work at the time. I am not speaking about any warranty letter at all. I'm speaking about the mail you received from the Nobler Gallery in 2005.
Yes, she sent me a photograph of it in the mail.
And to clarify, as we stated before, you do not have any evidence that Ms. Friedman specifically sent you this photograph.
Ms. Friedman, as president of the Nova Gallery, had sent me a photograph of the painting in the mail.
It is in your sworn testimony today that Ms. Friedman specifically sent you a photograph of the 1956 Rothko in mail.
Maybe not Ms. Ann Friedman specifically, but from the Nova Gallery, I received a photograph of the painting.
Yes, thank you. Now, moving forward, you never mentioned anything about this mail to anyone at Nova.
No, I didn't think much of it. It was just a photograph of the painting in the mail. I did not realize I would be cited on the warranty for it.
I'm not speaking about the warranty at all. So if we can keep focused here, you were later invited back to the Nobler Gallery to review a collection of undocumented works, correct?
Yes, they did invite me back.
In which this invite did not come from Ms. Friedman directly.
I didn't believe so, but it was for the Nova Gallery, and I had observed the works of them before, so I went again.
Right. Now, in this interaction, you requested to view more than just 5 of the works, and said the collection as a whole.
I believe so, yes.
So that is the answer to my question, right?
Yes.
All right. Now, you later had communicated with Ms. Friedman in about 2008 about a grand exhibition which would include all of the Rosales' works, correct?
Yes, I believe I did express some interest, but I believe that it fell through, it never went through.
So you would agree with me that you expressed interest in assisting with this effort to Ms. Friedman?
Yes, I did express interest, but nothing ever came of it.
Right. Now, later, one of the works that was a part of this Rosales collection, the Blue Newman, you were informed that it had concerns over its authenticity, even accused of being a fake.
I was made aware of some concerns, yes.
Right. But you later included this exact same painting in your own exhibition, right?
Yes, because for that specific exhibition, I was working as a curator, not a historian, so they would have had other historians that would have authenticated the work. I was simply a curator for that specific exhibition.
Right, but you included this work in the exhibition catalog.
I believe so, yes, as a curator.
But this catalog is not intended to be an indicator of authenticity, right?
No, because my work for it would have been as a curator, just collecting paintings that I believe could best fit the vision, not as a historian who would have authenticated it.
So you collected works that best fit the vision, right?
Yes,
And this work at the time had been possessed by the Miller Gallery before you.
I believe so, yes.
Right. Now, in 2011, you had your final conversation with Ms. Friedman, right?
Yes, that is correct.
In which she asked you to write a letter for her concerning a piece of paper.
Objection, hearsay.
Rebuttal.
Your Honor, I'm not asking the witness anything about the truth of the matter asserted as under Rule 801C. A hearsay statement is an out-of-court statement being offered truth of the matter asserted. I'm just asking Ms. Enfant specifically about whether or not she was asked to write a letter for Ms. Friedman in 2011. And this is just showing under 801D that the effect on the listener, as this is admissible in court, and it's not inadmissible, as it's not showing anything to the truth of the matter asserted.
Response, Your Honor.
None needed. Overruled. Continue.
Yes, Your Honor. Now, to be clear, once again, you were requested by Ms. Friedman to write a letter concerning a piece of painting.
Yes, and I did feel very comfortable writing it, so I did not do so.
Right. You didn't feel comfortable because Jamie Martin had just discovered concerns over another work.
Yes, I was made aware of many of the doubts and that a forensic analyst was researching these paintings.
Right, but over the span of 15 to 20 years, you had never declined an offer for your assistance until this moment.
I never declined an offer because I was not aware of so many doubts.
Right. Now, despite all of your Rocco experience that we discussed before, you never noticed any faulty work throughout all of these years.
Well, when I observed these paintings, it was for maybe 2 minutes. I did not probably get to fully observe these paintings.
Right, and you would agree with me that you have very expertly skills, correct?
I'm an expert in Rocco, you could say yes.
Right, and you agree that it takes time to authenticate work, correct?
Yes, time in which I did not do, I saw these paintings for maybe 2 minutes.
It takes extensive knowledge to analyze these works, correct?
Yes, the process for looking and observing and authenticating these works does take time.
But you would agree with me that you have much more knowledge than Ms. Friedman herself when it comes to being an art historian, critic, and curator, correct?
Objection, that question calls for speculation as my witness is not Ms. Friedman and cannot testify to the information that Ms. Friedman possessed.
Your Honor, may I be heard?
I'm gonna overrule for now. You may continue, counsel.
Yes, Your Honor. Now, Ms. Enfant, to be clear, you're an art historian, critic, and curator, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And to your knowledge, Ms. Friedman is none of those.
No, but she is very popular in the art world. She has worked in art for many, many years.
And so do you.
Yes, that has been established.
And you have never noticed anything faulty about any of these works throughout the years.
In the 2 minutes of observing them, no, I have not. If I was hired by the Nova Gallery in N. Friedman, I would have taken the time to do my research, but I was never hired, so I saw them for maybe 2 minutes, which is not enough time to fully observe a painting.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions at this time.
Thank you, counsel. Would plaintiff like to redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. Permission to move about below?
You may.
Thank you. Before I begin, may I have a time check from the bailiff?
2 minutes and 56 seconds.
Thank you. Now, Ms. Anfam, on your direct, you talked about some other pieces of artwork, and I just want to talk about those. The Blue Newman, is that the 1956 Rothko we're here in court today for?
No, it is not.
And the Rothko that you viewed at the art fair, is that the painting that we're here in court today for?
No, it is not.
And what authentication did you give on any of these artworks?
I never authenticated any of these artworks.
Had you ever communicated to Ms. Friedman that you were going to authenticate these works?
I had never said I was going to authenticate any of these artworks.
Have you been able to research any of these works?
No.
And how does you not noticing any flaws through a lack of research change the fact that you did not communicate that you authenticated?
It doesn't change anything.
And had you authenticated the 1956 Rothko?
No, I had not.
What are you later aware of regarding that painting?
That she cited my name in order to sell it.
No further questions.
Thank you, counsel. Would defense like to recross?
Yes, Your Honor, briefly, but before I begin, may I ask for a time check?
There's 3 seconds, guys.
I think I can get it out.
You're permitted to one question and one answer, and you don't need to say time. Please do keep the question and the answer relatively short. You may continue.
Now, Miss Sampa, was that Blue Newman work that was a part of the Rosales collection, which you were informed had concerns over its authenticity, a part of the same collection as the 1956 Rothko?
I know that they were both owned by the Nodler Gallery, but I think they were both a part of the Rosales collection.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sampa. Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Thank you, counsel. The witness may now sit down from the stand. Seeing as the court has now heard all evidence from plaintiff, we will move on to defense. Will defense please call up their first witness?
Yes, Your Honor. The defense calls up Ann Friedman to the stand.
Will Friedman please approach?
May it please the court.
You may.
Good morning. What is your name?
Good morning. My name is Ann Friedman, but you can call me AF because I'm real AF. Real art fanatical, that is.
Now, Ms. Friedman, could you tell us a little about yourself?
Of course. I love art. If I were married to my husband, and I could be married to art, I probably would be married to art. I adore art. My parents worked a lot growing up in New York City, but since then, because of that, my love for art has grown longer than my extensions.
Now, Ms. Friedman, where did this passion lead you in your career in the art world?
I knew that I wanted to do something involved with art, so I wanted to work at a gallery. I worked my way up from the bottom as a bozo receptionist to where I was as the president of the Nodler Art Gallery.
Now, let's discuss your career at the Nodler Art Gallery. What was your most recent occupation?
My most recent occupation was both as president and art dealer of the gallery.
Now, what were some of the usual or typical procedures you would take when receiving your work as the president and dealer at the Nodler Art Gallery?
When receiving a piece, it would usually go a little something like this. We would receive the piece, we would talk about prices with the seller, then we would figure out a deal that worked for both of us. We would properly authenticate the painting with the proper experts, and ultimately, we would look for buyers.
Now, Ms. Friedman, what type of experts did you typically hire?
There are 3 types of experts that we would typically hire: an art conservator, an art connoisseur, and an art historian.
Now, let's take a moment to discuss the matter at hand in today's case. Do you know why we are here, Ms. Friedman?
I do. Unfortunately, I find it a little bit comical. I am being sued regarding a painting that I sold to Domenico de Sole over 15 years ago.
Now, Ms. Friedman, is Mr. de Sole in the room with us today?
He is, yes.
Could you please describe him for the court?
Sure. He has black hair, is wearing a black suit, and what appears to be a tie that has to do with some kind of art.
Your Honor, let the record reflect that Ms. Ann Friedman, the defendant, has successfully identified the plaintiff, Mr. Domenico de Sole, in court today.
It has been acknowledged.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Ms. Friedman, moving on, you mentioned that you sold a piece of art to Mr. Domenico over 20 years ago. How were you first introduced to this piece?
I was first introduced to this piece by 2 people. One, Jamie Andrade, this Nodler employee, jack of all trades type. Ugh. And second, Glafira Rosales. She was this seemingly old person who told me that she was interested in selling a Rothko to the Nodler Art Gallery. A Rothko. Wow.
Now, what happened in your encounter with Ms. Rosales?
She told me that she had the Rothko that she wanted to show me, and she unveiled it as being a Rothko, or what appeared to be that way.
What documentation or information did you receive about this work that day?
I was told that, unfortunately, whatever documentation had been created regarding this painting had been lost during transit, if it even existed. Artists are incredibly known for their chaotic nature.
Now, as the years went by, what did your interaction with Ms. Rosales look like?
She would bring in a few pieces at a time, sell them to me, and then we would sell those paintings after authenticating them.
Now, if you could recall for the court, what year did you receive the first and last painting, a part of Rosales' collection?
I believe that the first painting that we received was in 1994, and the most recent one was in 2008.
Now, Ms. Friedman, within this 15 to 20-year time span, was there ever any piece that stood out to you?
Of course. There was, of course, the absolutely gorgeous Mark Rothko, 1956, untitled piece.
If I showed you a representation of this work to you today in court, would you be able to recognize it?
Of course, yes.
Your Honor, permission to approach and set up Exhibit 2, which has been already admitted in today's.
You may.
Yes. Let the record reflect that I am now approaching the witness to set up Exhibit 2.
Objection, Your Honor. Exhibit 2 has already been admitted, and seeing as this witness has not testified that this replica of it is a fair and accurate copy, I ask that they use the one that is already in evidence.
I will say that since this is a different copy, counsel, unless you want to readmit this, please do use the copy already used by plaintiff.
No worry, Your Honor. May I approach to take down the
You may.
All right, now, Ms. Freeman, do you recognize this document?
I do, yes.
What is this document?
This is the 1956 untitled Rothko piece. It's a little sad considering it is on print.
Now, to your eyes, is this a fair and accurate copy?
I would say it is, yes.
Has it been altered or stipulated in any way since you last saw it?
Not from what I can see, no.
Now, Ms. Freeman, before selling this painting, what precautions did you take?
So, especially with the Rosales collection, we had already gathered an entire team of Nobler employees to focus on this and to focus on the pieces that were brought in. For this particular piece, we consulted multiple experts who verified that the painting appeared to be authentic. Nobler additionally ran through its own verification process.
Now, Ms. Freeman, who ultimately did you sell this painting to?
I ultimately sold this painting to the plaintiff, Mr. Domenico de Soleil, and his wife, Eleanor.
And Your Honor, my apologies for 1 second. May I ask you, how much time do we have now specifically? Was it 15 minutes or was it 15 minutes?
Once 15 minutes has been used and you are on your second witness still, you will be forced to move on to your third witness.
Oh, thank you, Your Honor. Now, Ms. Freeman, to get back on track, who did you sell this painting to?
Mr. Domenico de Soleil and his wife, Eleanor.
How much did you sell it for?
We ultimately settled on a price of $8.3 million. It was a legal contract and we both agreed to it. There was no coercion involved.
Now, after this purchase, what happened with the de Soleils?
For over 15 years, this painting was beloved. They had absolutely no issues with it. Until it was revealed what an absolute crook Glyphera Rosales was.
Now, Ms. Freeman, if I showed you a copy of Ms. Rosales' indictment for forgery work today in court, would you be able to recognize it?
I would, yes.
Your Honor, permission to approach and retrieve Western Marks Exhibit 8 and approach the witness for identification purposes.
You may.
Thank you, Your Honor. Let the record reflect that I am now showing opposing counsel Western Marks Exhibit 8. I am now approaching the witness with Western Marks Exhibit 8. Do you recognize this document, Ms. Freeman?
I do, yes.
What is this document?
This is Glyphera Rosales' indictment.
Is this a true and accurate copy of the Glyphera Rosales' indictment to your eyes?
From what I understand, yes.
Your Honor, the defense offers Exhibit 8 into evidence, and that's that to be so admitted.
Any objections?
Yes, Your Honor, I have two. I'm going to object to this document being hearsay, and I'm going to object to a lack of or outside of the scope of the witness's knowledge, as she is not Glyphera Rosales. She has not seen this indictment before.
I am going to overrule that objection since judicial notice has been taken during pre-trial matter of this indictment, so let it not be known that Exhibit 8 is evidence. You may proceed, counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Ms. Freeman, could you please identify the criminal on this indictment for forgery artwork to the court?
Sure. Glyphera Rosales, aka Glyphera Gonzalez, aka Glyphera Rosales Rojas.
Now, could you please identify to the court where your name is located in this indictment for forgery artwork?
Absolutely nowhere.
Thank you, Ms. Freeman. Your Honor, permission to approach and retrieve Western Marks Exhibit 8 from the witness and publish to the bench.
You may.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Ms. Freeman, I want to get to the end of this now. How did this indictment release affect your career?
It completely devastated not just my career, but my own personal life. I've heard Mr. De Soleil today talk a lot about how this particular thing has ruined his life and his legacy. I think that that's incredibly laughable. I am the one that is being sued today over a crime that I have not been indicted for. The true person who deceived me was Glyphera Rosales. My job, I was fired from my job with very little notice because of this. I lost my standing in my profession. I lost friends over this matter. This is an incredibly serious matter to me. I never would have sold those paintings had I known that they were forgeries. I absolutely did not know that Clefairy Rosales was selling me fake paintings.
Now, what were your intentions and knowledge when selling this work?
My intentions and knowledge were to just share beauty with the world. Again, these pieces have been looked over by numerous experts. I just believed truly that we had just uncovered a new piece of Rothko's life.
Thank you, Ms. Friedman. And thank you, Your Honor. No further questions at this time. I tender my witness for cross-examination.
Thank you, counsel. Would you please approach the easel to return evidence to the bench?
Yes, Your Honor, my apologies.
No worries. At this time, would plaintiff please cross-examine?
Yes, Your Honor. Permission to move about the law?
You may.
Thank you. Now, Ms. Friedman, you claim that you have suffered a lot from the sale of the 1956 Rothko.
Not just from the 1956 Rothko, but from the entire Rosales collection. I would say in particular that I have suffered because of this painting.
And now let's walk through what you have because of that collection. It's true that you began working for Nodler in the 1970s. Is that correct?
Wow, that was a very long time ago. I believe that was around the time that I began working at Nodler. I was 29 when I started.
Yet you didn't become president of Nodler until 2001. Is that correct?
That would be correct, yes. I took years to build up my reputation within the art world.
This was after you sold 24 of the paintings from the Rosales collection?
I'm not sure exactly how many I had sold. At this point in 2001, I'm not sure if that's exactly the amount of paintings that I sold by 2001, but sure.
So you agree you sold dozens of paintings by 2001, is that correct?
Considering that we started acquiring the Rosales collection in 1998, that would be correct, yes.
And on these paintings that you sold, you made a lot of profit. That's fair to say?
Of course, but at the same time, you have to understand that my ability to make profit has been taken away from me because of these cases and because of Clefairy Rosales. I'm the one who's been charged with the crime or been found guilty. She has.
And just to clarify, your ability to make profit on these paintings has been taken away because you were fired from Nodler, is that correct?
I was fired because of the fact that Clefairy Rosales deceived me. I am the first person to admit I was deceived by her. I was fired from Nodler because I was viewed as the dispensable fall guy in this situation where everyone could just blame me for what happened when I had no knowledge that the paintings that I was selling were fraudulent.
And again, just to keep you back on track to my line of questioning here, you were fired from Nodler after it was discovered you sold over 40 fake paintings, is that correct?
That would be correct, but again, I had no knowledge that these paintings were fake.
And you were the only one that was working on the sale of these 40 paintings, is that correct?
There were a lot of people that were going into the assurance that the sales were conducted properly and authenticated prior. So while I was the spokesperson and sales coordinator, I wouldn't say that I was the only person working on these paintings.
And you are aware of the entire Rosales collection, is that fair to say?
That is fair to say. Again, unfortunately, I dedicated 20 years of my career to this forgery. Time I will never get back and money I will never be able to make again because this entire thing has taken away my reputation.
Ms. Friedman, due to time purposes, I would like you to stay on track with my line of questioning. Now, if I were to approach you with the Rosales collection, you would be able to recognize it?
I would. Contains the paintings I am aware of.
Permission to approach the witness will have been previously marked as Exhibit 4 after tendering to opposing counsel.
You may.
Thank you. Ms. Friedman, you recognize this document?
I do, yes.
You recognize this as the Rosales collection that you sold?
Yes, this appears to be a representation of that.
It is a fair and accurate copy?
From what I can see, yes.
It hasn't been tampered or altered with in any way?
I don't believe so, no.
We offer Exhibit 1 in evidence.
Any objections?
Yes, Your Honor. The defense objects to hearsay with Exhibit 1.
Rebuttal?
Yes, Your Honor. Being that this is a recorded recollection, as Ms. Freeman was the one who handled all the information within these sales and sold this collection and kept a list of this collection, and considering that there is a lot of information in this document, she wouldn't be able to testify to all of that accurately if it was not presented right in front of her.
I'm going to overrule that objection, letting now be known that Exhibit 1 is evidence. You may proceed.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, Ms. Friedman, I just want to walk through all the paintings that are in this collection. There are 4 entire pages of artwork in this collection. Is that correct?
That is true, but not all of them were sold, and this was over the course of, again, 20 years.
All except about 3 were sold. Is that correct?
I believe that would be correct. I don't know the exact number that were unsold. It actually looks like a few more than that.
And you're aware that all of these paintings sold for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. Is that correct?
I have no reason to tell you that art dealing is a very lucrative career. We are dealing with very large sums of money.
Sorry, Ms. Friedman, so that's a yes to my question.
Objection, Your Honor. We object that opposing counsel is cutting the witness off before finishing a response. We ask that opposing counsel allow the witness to elaborate as much as she possibly needs to give a full and correct answer to the
May I
question.
interrupt, Your Honor?
I'll sustain at this time, but if it does proceed, I will adhere to your request, counsel. You may proceed.
Yes, Your Honor. So, Ms. Friedman, it is correct that all of these paintings were selling for hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars. Is that correct?
It would be correct. There were also some that sold for tens of thousands or that we exchanged different things for.
And now let's look at the one in your later careers. This painting that sold in 2006 sold for $250 or $2 million. Is that correct?
This one?
This one.
This one.
That sold for over $2 million.
$3 million.
Yeah, so it sold for $3 million.
That would be correct. Again, art dealing is a highly lucrative career.
And this painting sold for $1 million.
Yes, again, very lucrative.
And this painting right here sold for over $4 million. Is that correct?
No, that would be $7.2 million. That was the price that we paid for it.
So it sold for over $7 million. That's correct?
Correct, but again, these aren't, the gross profit that we made from this was $2.3 million, which is nothing to scoff at.
Thank you. Permission to publish Exhibit 1 back to the bench?
You may.
Thank you. And now, Ms. Freeman, you personally pocketed 30% of the profits from all of those sales. Is that correct?
Objection, Your Honor. Character evidence.
Response?
None needed. I'll overrule at this time. You may continue.
Yes, Your Honor.
Would you like me to repeat that question?
Yes, please.
So, Ms. Freeman, you as the president of Nodler personally pocketed 30% of all of those sales. Is that correct?
Objection, Your Honor. Once again, character evidence, as now opposing counsel has elaborated a little bit that she was the president. They're trying to use her reputation against her right now.
Response, Your Honor?
You may.
I am simply including that she is the president to take note of the fact that she was the one presiding over these sales, and being that because she was the president, that is why she earned the 30% of these works.
Your Honor, may I respond?
None needed. I'm going to overrule. Continue.
Thank
Yes,
you.
Your Honor.
So, Ms. Friedman, you as the president of Nodler personally pocketed 30% of all of those works. Is that correct?
Myself and my boss, Michael Hammer, who owned the gallery, worked out that I would be paid 30% of all of these commissions, as again, I was the direct spokesperson for this, and I was the president of Nodler Gallery.
And the 1956 Rothko sold for $8 million. Is that correct?
$8.3 million to be precise, yes.
And you personally pocketed 30% of that profit. Is that correct?
That would be correct, but again, art dealing is a highly lucrative career. I don't think that it should be held against me that my position made me a lot of money. I would have no reason to lie about it, as that would simply destroy my reputation.
Objection, Your Honor. At this time, I'm going to object to narrative as the witness is continually elaborating beyond my line of questioning.
I'm going to overrule at this time, as it has not been continuously established your preference, but you may continue, counsel.
Yes, Your Honor. Now, Ms. Friedman, You were the one that sold that $8.3 million painting, that's correct?
I believe that has been well established, yes.
And you were the one that did not refund Domenico de Sol his money that he paid for that painting, is that correct?
I believe that's the entire issue in this case, that Mr. De Sole would like to sue her for the amount of money that he paid for this painting.
I'm sorry, I don't believe you understood my question. You never refunded Domenico de Sol the money he paid for this painting, is that correct?
I had been fired from Nodler at this point. I had no professional responsibility to refund him. I had been fired from my job because of this case.
You had been fired from your job after you sold over 40 fake paintings.
I did not know that I was selling 40 fake paintings. It would be genuinely and probably my worst interest to knowingly sell forged artworks.
I'm sorry, that did not answer my question. Yes, you were fired from your job after you sold over 40 fake paintings.
Objection, Your Honor. Asked and answered. I believe the witness has clarity.
Response, Your Honor?
No need, I'm gonna overrule that. Witness, please answer the attorney's question. You may continue.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Ms. Friedman, it is true that you were fired from Nodler after you sold 40 fraudulent paintings for millions of dollars.
That would be correct, but again, I did not know that they were forgeries.
No further questions.
Thank you, counsel. Would defense like to redirect?
Yes, Your Honor, very, very briefly. May I proceed?
You may.
Ms. Freeman, what were your intentions with dealing all of this work over in your occupation as the president and dealer at the Noble Gallery?
My intention was simply to share this beauty with the world. I had no idea that these were fakes or fraudulence, or else I never would have sold them. I have lost so much from this case.
Thank you, Ms. Freeman. Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Thank you, counsel. Would plaintiff like to recross?
None needed, Your Honor.
The witness may now sit down from the stand. Will defense please call up their second witness?
Yes, Your Honor. The defense calls Lily Nasser to the stand. And may we get a time check?
10 minutes and 6 seconds.
Nazir may approach.
Good morning. What is your name?
Hello, my name is Lady Nasser.
Could you please tell us a little bit about yourself, Ms. Nasser?
Well, of course. My name in Arabic means victory, so I'm quite the competitive Capricorn, and I without a doubt love my role in the art world. I wouldn't trade it for all of Monet's Water Lily collection.
Now, could you tell us about your experience in the art world?
Well, I originally started with the National Gallery of Art in 1995, but I started working on the David Athens Canvas project, but then I worked on paper catalogs, so I've been working there for like 15 to 17 years.
And what is your current occupation?
I'm currently the project manager of the Mark Rothko Catalog Raisonné.
Could you please explain to the court what a catalog raisonné is?
Well, absolutely. A catalog raisonné is like a comprehensive list of one artist's works.
And how long is the process of creating one of these catalog raisonnés?
It's a quite time-consuming process since we have to collect lots of information on every single piece. And some pieces can take long times to collect every piece of information.
Do you work with anyone else when creating a catalog raisonné?
Absolutely. I love my team. It's important to get as many opinions as possible because there was no way that we could do it alone.
And where do you get your information on these works?
We get it from exhibition documents, lifetime source, and then after we collect it, we put it into a note-taking system for the National Gallery.
Do you ever look at the works in person?
Yes, that is absolutely my favorite part. We get to look at the backs, fronts, take measurements, pictures. I love it. But we don't ask that anybody does forensic testing, and we don't do it either.
So overall, what is the goal of the raisonné process?
Well, hopefully if we collect enough information, we'll be able to put it into the catalog. If we don't feel that we've collected enough information or we're unsure about the piece, it doesn't go in the raisonné.
So earlier you mentioned you were familiar with Mark Rothko's works. Could you tell us how you first got into this case?
Yes, around 2002, I first saw the 1956 oil on canvas.
And if I were to show you this work, a copy of it, do you believe you would be able to recognize it?
Absolutely.
Your Honor, may I approach the bench and set up Exhibit 2?
You may.
Do you recognize this document?
Yes.
What is this document?
This is the painting sold to the Des Soleils.
And is this a fair and accurate representation of the painting sold to the Des Soleils?
I do believe it is.
So could you tell us how you first became familiar with this work in particular?
Yes, Anne Friedman reached out to me at the Nobler saying that she wanted
Objection, hearsay.
rebuttal.
She's giving her own recollection of the conversation with Miss Anne Freeman, and it is not being used for the truth of the matter asserted.
Response, Your Honor.
None needed. I'm going to sustain at this time. Please rephrase or move on, counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So, have you ever spoken to Mrs. Friedman?
Before I saw this piece, I had never spoken with her, but I had absolutely heard about her and the Nobler. They were well known. So when I saw the piece, that was the first time I met her.
And about this meeting, could you explain what happened at it?
Well, she was open in saying that these were newly discovered.
Objection, hearsay. Under Rule 801.
I'll overrule at this time, but you may raise it again another time. You may continue, counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor. So, continue, please.
They were collecting information on the piece, and that it had been obtained by Alfonso Escuro, and that it was held by a Switzerland collector.
Now, what happened after this initial interaction?
Well, I got to see this piece again at the American Art Dealers Association in New York.
Now, what happened at this encounter?
Well, I don't remember much of our conversation that day. It was quite crowded, and we were looking at lots of work. But I do remember seeing my name in a stack of papers. At the time, I thought it was odd, since I'd never given permission to use my name, but I really don't know what it was for.
Now, did you ever speak to Mrs. Anne Friedman in person after this?
Since I never said anything about the papers, no.
Now, is there anything to note about your communications with Mrs. Anne Friedman?
To me, Anne Friedman seemed very open and transparent in saying that they were still collecting information and that she would reach out to us if she had anything new.
Objection, hearsay.
Response?
You may.
She said she seemed to be transparent and is giving her own recollection of this, of these statements, not these statements specifically.
May I be heard, Your Honor?
Time, Your Honor, 5 minutes has elapsed, or 5 minutes remain, 15 minutes has elapsed.
Seeing as that you have 5 minutes remaining and you still have one more witness to go, I'm going to overrule that objection for now. You may finish your answer, and then after that, this witness will be passed on for cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Continue, Your Honor.
No, we may stay paused.
Absolutely. She seemed very transparent, allowed us to contact her and send her a thank you letter, which is really kind, and we'd love to do that because we really appreciate her allowing us to do the work.
Thank you, Ms. Nasser, and thank you, Your Honor. No further questions. I tender this witness for cross-examination.
Thank you, counsel. Will plaintiff please cross-examine?
Yes, Your Honor. Before I begin, may I get a time check from bailiff and permission to move about the law?
You may, and your time check is now.
The plaintiff has 7 minutes and 46 seconds remaining for cross.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Nasser, Anne Freeman had brought you in to observe the Mark Rothko painting, is that correct?
Yes, she reached out to me to view the 1956.
And it is true that you never authenticated the painting, is that correct?
The purpose of the viewing was just to come see and look at it, and I really appreciate her allowing me to do that.
So that's a yes, you never authenticated the painting?
I've never had an opportunity to come in and authenticate the painting fully.
Thank you. So later on, after you observed the painting the first time, you would see the painting once again at an art fair, is that correct?
Yes, I did have the opportunity to see it again.
Thank you. And so at that second viewing of this painting, your name was on a list of names of people who had viewed the painting, is that correct?
I did see my name in a pile of papers on the table.
And you had never given Anne Freeman consent to put your name on that document, is that correct?
I did not, but at the
Thank
same
you.
time.
And then you, Anne Freeman...
Objection, Your Honor. Could you please allow my witness to finish her statement?
I'll overrule at this time, but you may object another time.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Continue.
Now, Ms. Nasser, Anthony had never asked you to put your name on that document, is that correct?
I was not sure what the names were for, and I really wasn't going to question her on it since I viewed it and did believe it appeared to be authentic.
So, no, Ann Freeman had never asked for permission to put your name on the document, is that correct?
She did not specifically ask, but
Thank
I had
you.
no issue with it.
Now, Ms.
Objection, Your
Nasser.
Honor. She again interrupted my witness.
I will sustain that. Please do allow the witness to finish their question. Counsel, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Ms. Nasser, you had written a thank you letter to Ann Freeman after you had observed the painting, is that correct?
Yes, writing a thank you letter is a common courtesy that we really like to do in order to appreciate a collector or dealer allowing us to view their works.
And Ann Freeman had requested specific language to be included in the letter, is that correct?
We communicated over the letter a few times, and I actually really appreciate her doing that because professionally it helps me to make sure that she is fully okay with what's going on and occurring, and working with her together was amazing.
And a part of the statements that were asked to be included was the statement, specific language was asked to be used in the statement saying you would include it in the Rothko catalog, is that correct?
I never specifically stated.
Hearsay, Your Honor.
Rebuttal. Response, Your Honor, this is falls under Rule 803, subsection 1, present sense impression, as they were actively observing this painting.
All overrule your objection. Continue.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Nasser, the part of the language that Ann Freeman had requested was also saying that you would say that you would include this painting within the Rothko catalog resume from David and Pham, is that correct?
I absolutely need more information before I was ever going to go into the catalog, so I will never say specifically that it will 100% go into a catalog.
But you stated that you were considering it, is that correct?
Absolutely, I was considering it. It's very important to hopefully put in as many pieces as possible.
And now, Ms. Nasser, you were aware in court today that your name is included on the warranty of the painting sold to Mr. DeSola, is that correct?
I can't really comment on any of that sort of thing since I wasn't truly informed on that.
You were not paying attention in court today during Mr. DeSola's testimony?
I was aware that my name was used during DeSola's testimony, stating that my name was part of the authentication process.
And once again, you never authenticated the painting?
I viewed it and believed it was authentic.
But you never officially authenticated the painting?
I never officially authenticated the painting, but I viewed it and did believe it was authentic.
Your Honor, at this time, we do pass the witness.
Thank you, counsel. Seeing as you do have only 5 minutes remaining, no redirect will be entertained at this time. The witness may now sit down from the stand. Before proceeding, counsel, would you please approach the easel to return evidence to the stand, just because you're closest?
Yes, Your Honor.
And then will defense please call up their last and final witness?
Yes, Your Honor, the defense calls Stephen Polcari to the stand.
Will Polcari approach?
May I proceed?
You may.
Good morning. What is your name?
Good morning. My name is Dr. Stephen Polcari.
And doctor, could you please introduce yourself to the court?
Of course. I am an art historian, and I have loved art. Ever since I was a child, I spilled 3 buckets of paint down my grandfather's driveway. And I can say I love the art I made, but my grandfather wasn't too happy about it.
You mentioned you're an art historian. Could you briefly explain your educational background?
Well, I worked for I have my bachelor's in poli-sci, and also my master's in art history from the University of Columbia. Great place, by the way, I love it. But my most notable and my favorite achievement is my PhD, which I received from the University of California in art history.
Have you had any notable fellowships during your career?
I do. I worked for the Endowment for the Humanities, the Advanced Institute of Study at Princeton, and I also worked for the National Gallery of Washington, D.C.
Do you have any published works to confirm your experiences?
I do. My baby, in fact, is called Abstract Expressionism in a Modern Experience. Or, I probably shouldn't say my #1 baby, because my main baby is my chickens. I actually call them KFC. Kind, friendly chicks. I love them. They're cute. They're puffballs, and they're amazing.
You mentioned your book covers abstract art. About how many pieces have you seen during your lifetime?
I mean, I've seen hundreds. I've been to almost every single abstract expressionist show since the 1960s.
And are your skills in this area consistent within the art world?
They are.
Your Honor, at this time, the defense offers Mr. Polcari as an expert in abstract art.
Objections?
Yes, Your Honor, I'm going to object to a lack of foundation, as this witness has simply listed degrees and experience, but they have not connected them specifically to this case and testified to why they would be relevant or beneficial for the jury in this case.
I'm going to overrule that objection. Let it now be known that Polcari is an expert in the field of abstract art. You may continue.
Now, Dr. Polcari, I want to move on to your relations in this case. Could you just briefly describe your first communications with Nobler?
I can. It all started when I met this absolutely wonder of a woman, Anne Friedman. Now let me tell you, when this dealer beamed with confidence in class like no one I ever seen, I was so impressed. I was like, you go, girl.
And during this meeting, did you write any literature for Ms. Friedman?
I did. I wrote her a letter on the Motherwell painting.
If I showed you a copy of this exhibit in court today, would you be able to recognize it?
Of course.
Your Honor, permission at this time to retrieve Exhibit 6 and approach the witness for identification purposes.
You may.
Let the record reflect I am now showing opposing counsel what is marked as Exhibit 6. I am now handing the witness what is marked as Exhibit 6. Do you recognize this document?
I do.
What is this document?
It is titled Another Member of the Family, and this is the letter I wrote to Nobler and Anne Friedman.
Would you say it's a fair and accurate copy?
I would.
And has it been changed in any way since you last saw it?
It has not.
Your Honor, at this time, the defense moves Exhibit 6 into evidence.
Any objections?
Yes, Your Honor, under Rule 801, I am objecting to hearsay.
Rebuttal.
Yes, Your Honor, under Rule 801D1, this is a prior statement written by this witness. He can testify to all the information in this document. It's even signed by him at the end of that document. But this is going to further his testimony and lay the facts out for the jury today.
Response, Your Honor?
You may.
Being that this document is hearsay and is full of his statements, I ask that they lay a hearsay exception under Rule 803.
I'm going to sustain that objection. Please do lay a hearsay exception if you do have one, counsel.
Your Honor, we would argue that this is also not being used for the truth of the matter. It's more on the effect of the listener. This letter was sent to Miss Anne Friedman during that meeting, and it just describes that Dr. Polcari's conclusions during this time.
Acknowledge it, and now be known that Exhibit 6 is evidence. You may continue.
Now, Mr. Polcari, can you describe what this document is about?
Well, this document is simply about the Motherwell painting, which I ended up authenticating for Nobler.
Now, if you could please read your last sentence of that second paragraph.
Well, I stated, I have no reservation as to its stylistic resemblance to the Motherwell's oeuvre.
Could you explain to the court what that means?
Well, oeuvre simply means the other Motherwells that I've seen, this one matched its style and also matched many similarities with the other Motherwells.
Permission to retrieve Exhibit 6 and publish to the bench.
You may.
Now, Mr. Polcari, I want to talk about the work that you did with those Motherwells. Why were your conclusions that it was authentic?
Well, based off of how I ended up authenticating it, I ended up using historical analysis, visual analysis, and the overall consensus of the art world.
Thank you, Your Honor. I tender this witness for cross-examination.
Thank you, counsel. At this time, will plaintiff please cross-examine?
Yes, Your Honor. Before we begin, may I have a time check?
For cross-examination, the plaintiff has 3 minutes and 44 seconds.
Thank you, Your Honor. Permission to move up well.
You may.
Thank you. Now, Dr. Polcari, on your direct examination, you talked a lot about some other artwork, but I want to direct your attention to the 1956 Rothko. It's true that you never authenticated this painting. Is that correct?
That is true. I never completely authenticated this painting.
It's true that you had never seen this painting prior to today.
I did not.
It's true that you had never researched this painting.
Well, I have done multiple research on Rothko himself, but no, I've never researched this painting to be exact.
Permission to approach the witness who has been previously marked as Exhibit 4.
You may.
Thank you. Now, Dr. Polcari.
Objection, Your Honor, to lack of personal knowledge.
I'll overrule at this time. Continue.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, Dr. Polcari, I'm just going to read some names off this warranty under the list of scholars. Just feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. Right here, that says Stephen Polcari. Is that correct?
Yes, it does mention my name.
And after being in court today, you're aware that this warranty was for the 1956 Rothko?
I am aware of that.
So you admit that it's true that you're listed as an expert that authenticated this painting for a painting you had never seen. Is that correct?
That would be correct, but to be fair, I did authenticate multiple other paintings from this Styles collection.
Yet, again, you never authenticated that painting, and your name is listed specifically on the warranty for that painting. Is that correct?
It is listed as that painting.
No further questions.
Thank you.
Publish exhibit 4 back to the bench.
You may, counsel.
Thank you.
The witness may now sit down from the stand. Seeing as the court has now heard evidence from both sides, we will move into closing arguments. Will plaintiff please present their closing argument to the court at this time?
Yes, Your Honor. Permission to move about the law?
You may.
Thank you. Your Honor and members of the jury, we began our case by asking you to consider the facts. And what the facts have shown you today is that Anne Friedman's consistent pattern of deception painted a picture of fraud. As the plaintiff, we held the burden of proving by clear and convincing evidence, which simply means that it is substantially or highly more likely than it is not to be true that Anne Friedman devised a scheme to knowingly sell that forged 1956 Rothko to Domenico de Sol by means of false pretenses, promises, or representations. And she did this all to obtain profit. We met this burden by bringing to you our 3 witnesses. First, you heard from Jamie Martin, an expert in forensic analysis, who walked you through just how they exposed the lying and deceiving scheme done by Anne Friedman when she proved that the 1956 Rothko was in fact fake, and that all the provenance regarding it was also fake. She also testified that after doing analysis on some other paintings for Anne Friedman and concluding that they were fake, she warned Anne Friedman of this. But Anne Friedman wanted her to change her story and wanted her to stay silent because Anne Friedman knew she could make some money off of those paintings. Next, we brought to you Domenico de Sol, the victim in this case, the one who lost $8.3 million in his daughter's inheritance and family's legacy. That which, as the defendant said, was apparently laughable. He walked you through just how Anne Friedman deceived him by lying to him and convincing him to spend $8.3 million on something that is worth no more than a piece of firewood. And he told you that he sent that money by wire and that he was mailed a fraudulent warranty. That same warranty, which David Anfam was listed on. Yet David Anfam told you that today is the first time they've ever seen that painting, and that they saw that painting first in mail through 2005. So it is impossible that their name is listed on the warranty that was given in 2004. In an attempt to combat the facts, the defense also brought to you 3 witnesses. First, they brought to you Anne Friedman herself, which, as the defense put it, lies can be beautiful. And the lies of Anne Friedman, she attempted to make them beautiful. But in reality, they were offensive to Mr. de Sol and the witnesses that she lied and deceived. Anne Friedman walked you through just how much of money she made from the sale of her entire Rosales collection, and that she herself personally pocketed over $3 million on the 1956 Rothko. And she claimed that she had numerous experts authenticate this painting, yet none of them are in court today. As you heard, Layli Nasser never authenticated that painting. As you heard, Dr. Stephen Polcari never authenticated that painting. Yet both of their names are listed on the warranty that was given to Mr. de Sol, and as he put it, he wouldn't have bought that painting if it was not for that fraudulent warranty. And that is why I asked you to consider how Anne Friedman's deceptive pattern paint a picture of liable and find her liable on all charges. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. How much time do they have left for rebuttal, bailiff?
I apologize. I did my math incorrectly. They have 1 minute and 10 seconds.
Thank you. Plaintiff, you have up to 1 minute and 10 seconds for rebuttal if you do wish to take it following the defense's closing statement. At this time, will the defense please present their closing argument to the court?
Yes, Your Honor. May it please the court.
You may.
I never had any reason to even think this painting was a fake. Words that Mr. Domenico De Sole has admitted to in court today. Words that this trial cannot change. No one. Not the De Soles, not a single respected scholar, and certainly not Miss Anne Friedman herself. As members of the court, this case isn't about whether or not the painting turned out to be fake. We all now know that it was. It was about something much more important. What did Anne Friedman know when she sold it? Now, at the beginning of today's trial, opposing counsel had mentioned to you that Anne wanted more, but I asked you to focus more on my co-counsel. Before she was cut off from her opening statement, she ended with 3 very important principles. A-R-T. Authenticity, responsibility, and the truth. Now, those aren't simply words. That is evidence that you've heard from every single witness in this courtroom today. First, beginning with authenticity. Did Anne Friedman honestly believe this painting was authentic? Absolutely. You see, you heard from Miss Anne Friedman herself. You heard from Stephen Pocari, who agreed, Lani Nasser, who devoted years of time into the Rockville catalog resume and accepted the work as a scholarly review rather than dismissing it. And David Enfant. Now, Ms. Enfant was brought into this case by the plaintiff expecting to end this conversation, but instead she confirmed something far more important. That even the world's foremost Rothko scholar kept coming back to these paintings, kept engaging with them, kept expressing interest in them to Ms. Friedman, confirming everything she felt inside. Beauty. And Mr. Domenico has admitted to the court that he never had any inclination to even think the painting was a fake. Now, one of the world's most sophisticated art collectors had no reason to suspect fraud. How can the plaintiff ask you to conclude beyond clear and convincing evidence that Anne Friedman secretly knew all along when no one else did? That's not evidence, it's hindsight. Which moves to our second point, responsibility. Did Anne Friedman act responsibly when the concerns arose? Absolutely. You see, she investigated. She consulted experts, she kept asking questions, and she sought additional information. More importantly, Jamie Martin, the very expert whose testimony ultimately revealed these paintings were really fake, wasn't brought here by the plaintiff or forced by the government. No. She was brought here because Anne Friedman and the Noblers sought scientific information. Criminals conceal and hide, and Friedman investigated, which leads to our third and final, the truth. Now, members of the court, I ask you to think back over every witness, every testimony. Where is the moment that the plaintiff has proven that Ms. Anne Friedman knew the painting was a fake and still sold it anyway? Where is the conversation? Where is the phone call? Where is the witness? There isn't one. Instead, the plaintiff would have you assume knowledge simply because the painting was later found out to be fake. But assumptions are not proof, and suspicion is not evidence. Members of the court, the plaintiff wants authenticity to become fraud. They want uncertainty to become deceit. They want investigation to become conspiracy. And they want hindsight to become evidence. But the law requires none of those things. The law requires proof that Anne Friedman knowingly deceived the De Soles. And after today's trial, the plaintiff has failed to meet that burden because they can't, and because she didn't. Members of the court, the defense has not bared any burden today. In fact, we could have chosen to not bring a single witness up to that stand. But after doing so, we have shown you 3 things. That Anne Friedman honestly believed this painting was authentic. That when concerns arose, she acted responsibly. And that throughout this entire transaction, she told the truth as she honestly knew it. Authentic, responsible, and truthful art. The only thing that has brought this courtroom together today. The beauty of his presence, the joy brought to life, and the bandage we never even needed. Members of the court, the plaintiff has proven that a forgery existed, and we agree. But they have not proven that Anne Friedman knowingly participated in fraud. Those are not the same thing. And under the law, that difference matters. Because if there is any lesson else to be learned here in court today, it would be that yes, you can forge art, but you can't forge the truth. Which the defense has told. We showed you through Exhibit 8 that there is a criminal for this problem. There is a person who has been found guilty. But as the plaintiff said, Anne Friedman wanted more. Yes, the truth. But Mr. Domenico, I believe, made a very interesting point that he was a very wealthy man, right? But still wanted more money? I believe that the intentions brought here by the plaintiff aren't under the law. They're under conspiracy. And members of the court, The defense has just come here to tell the truth, which is why we ask you to return the only reasonable verdict and find Anne Friedman not liable. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. At this time, would plaintiff like to take their rebuttal of up to 1 minute and 10 seconds?
Yes, Your Honor. Permission to move up, well.
Yes, and you may proceed when ready.
Thank you. Your Honor and members of the jury, the one thing that Anne Friedman can't forge is the truth. And as you saw, the truth was revealed today. When you saw just how Domenico De Sol was deceived by Anne Friedman and is now being blamed for believing her, for believing the president of one of the most prestigious galleries in the world, who was giving him experts that allegedly authenticated it. But as it was revealed today, the whole time she was lying. She knowingly lied on the warranty that was sent to Domenico De Sol through the mail, therefore committing mail fraud. Your Honor, I ask you to consider the witnesses brought forth to you by the own defense. How the experts that Anne Friedman allegedly relied on have never seen nor authenticated this painting. And yet she used them to make a profit and to continue selling and to sell this painting for $8.3 million, money which she still possesses today.
Time, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you, counsel, for your time. Seeing as this is a showcase round, I will not be delivering a final verdict today, but with that being said, I would like to thank all my fellow student judges. I truly appreciated our team this year. Each of you have brought your all to this competition and have led your courtrooms with dignity and kindness. I am beyond grateful to have served alongside you this year. Before we officially close, I do want to say thank you to every student who stepped into this courtroom with courage, preparation, and respect for the mock trial process. You have brought energy, thoughtfulness, and heart to the competition, and you should be proud of the way you represented yourselves, your teams, and most importantly, your states. And with that, the final trial round of the YMCA 2026 National Judicial Competition is hereby adjourned.